Hey everyone. Let's fall asleep to history tonight with a vivid portrait of the Middle Ages, where beauty was not just a glamour but also a curse. You stand before a murky mirror, the light of a candle flickering on your face, a face that makes people turn, whisper, and sometimes fear. In this world, why beauty was dangerous in medieval times is not just a question, but a harsh reality. You might not survive the night if the wrong eyes catch you. So before you comfortably lie down, take a second to like the video and subscribe to the channel, but only if you really like what I do here. Oh, and feel free to leave a comment about where you're watching and what time it is in your area. Now, dim the lights, turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. You wake up in a medieval village in 1215, just after King John signs the Magna Carta, an event that shakes the aristocracy. But to you, the news is like the sound of wind blowing through a field of barley. What makes your heart pound is that everyone's eyes, from the baker to the drunkard in the market, are fixed on you. Being too pretty in the Middle Ages is not a gift. It's like carrying a torch in the dark, attracting moths and wolves alike. Your long, shiny hair, your eyes are like pearls, and your skin is flawless. These are the marks of paradise. But what paradise here? Beauty is an unspoken accusation. Imagine walking through a market, your simple linen dress unable to hide your features. An old woman selling herbs whispers, "You look like a fairy." It sounds sweet, but her eyes are sharp. Medieval people believed that excessive beauty could be a sign of evil. A strange fact. They used cow urine to whiten their skin, thinking it brought them closer to the ideal of holiness. You wrinkle your nose, trying not to imagine the smell, but it is these medieval beauty standards and danger that have put you in the crosshairs. Beauty is not just something to admire, it is something to be questioned. You stop at a stall where a merchant is offering polished bronze mirrors. You don't need these. Girl. He smiles, but his eyes dart around, as if calculating your worth. In this society, the dangers of being beautiful in history are present at every corner. A beautiful girl doesn't just attract suitors, she also attracts those who want to exploit her. From lords seeking protection to human traffickers who prowl the village gates. You turn away, heart pounding, feeling his eyes on you like a dagger. Suddenly, a church bell rings, calling the villagers to prayer. You push through the crowd, ducking your head to avoid attention, but to no avail. A young knight in shining armor blocks your path. "Who are you to make this market stop breathing?" he asks, half joking. You smile wryly, knowing that refusing him could cause trouble. Historians still debate whether such advances were truly romantic or merely a way for men to assert their power. For you, it feels like walking on a tightrope over an abyss. To lighten things up a bit, imagine you say, "Oh, I'm just a village girl. Nothing special except for my chicken chasing skills." He laughs, but you know you've just bought yourself a few seconds of peace. Another joke. Well, if you think being stared at is bad, try being a medieval cat. They were believed to be the devil's minions. And you're just being accused of being too pretty. But enough joking. As you leave the market, a chill runs down your spine. You hear two women whisper, "She's so pretty. She must be under some kind of spell." Your beauty doesn't just make you stand out, it makes you a target. In the 13th century, when superstition reigned, a perfect face could be seen as evidence of a pact with the devil. You recall the story of a woman in a neighboring village who was accused of witchcraft because her hair shone red in the sun. You stroke your hair, wondering if it will become the rope that hangs you. But you have no time to be afraid. A servant of the local lord appears, bowing and inviting you to the castle. "My lord wishes to see you," he says. His voice even, but his eyes full of meaning. You swallow, knowing this invitation isn't optional. The castle is where why beauty was dangerous in medieval times becomes most apparent. A lord can elevate you to his favor or throw you into the dungeons if you refuse. As you follow the servants, sunlight filters through the trees, but you feel like you're walking into darkness. One last joke to break the tension. If you thought being invited to the castle was scary, at least you're not the Lord's pig. It's said to be fed better than the villagers. As the castle gates loomed before you, you took a deep breath. Your beauty had brought you here, but it could also be the very thing that had put you in danger. You wondered if you would survive the night, or if your radiance would be your ultimate curse. You're still reeling from that invitation to the Lord's castle, your heart thumping like a war drum as you trail the servant through muddy village paths. The air smells of damp straw and wood smoke, and every step toward the looming stone walls feels like a step deeper into a trap. Last night's close call at the market, remember that night with the cheesy line, was just a taste of the tightrope you walk. Being too pretty in the Middle Ages is like carrying a jeweled dagger. It's stunning, sure, but it makes everyone want to either steal it or stab you with it. Tonight, you're stepping into the glittering, deadly world of courtly love, where your beauty isn't just a spark, it's a wildfire waiting to burn you down. It's 1216, a chaotic year when England's barons rebel against King John, sparking the First Barons' War. You've heard whispers of it in the village, but here in the castle's torchlit hall, it's all chivalric boasts and clinking goblets. The lord, a grizzled man with a scar snaking down his cheek, sits at the high table, his eyes locking onto you like a hawk spotting a rabbit. Around him, knights in embroidered tunics murmur, their gazes heavy with something between awe and hunger. Courtly love, the so-called noble game of devotion, is supposed to elevate beauty into poetry. But you're not fooled. This game has teeth, and the dangers of being beautiful in history are written in the way these men lean forward, their smiles sharp as blades. You're ushered to a seat near the Lord, your plain wool dress feeling like a costume next to the silks and furs around you. A minstrel strums a lute, singing of a lady whose face outshines the stars. You shift uncomfortably, realizing he's staring right at you. Odd fact alert: medieval minstrels sometimes used pickled eel grease to slick their hair, thinking it made them irresistible. You stifle a smirk, imagining the smell. But the humor fades when a young knight, barely older than you, stands and declares he'll dedicate his sword to your honor. The hall cheers, but you feel a chill. His devotion means he'll fight and maybe die to prove your beauty's worth. And if he loses, you'll be blamed. "Smile, my lady," the Lord says, his voice smooth but commanding. You force a grin, muttering under your breath. Sure, because nothing says fun like being a human trophy. That's your first joke, and it keeps your nerves steady. But the truth is, courtly love isn't about you, it's about them. Knights use your beauty to flex their prowess, turning you into a prize in their ego-fueled duels. Historians still debate whether courtly love was romantic idealism or just a fancy excuse for men to show off and control women. To you, it feels like a cage draped in velvet. The banquet drags on, platters of roasted peacock and spiced wine passing under your nose. You nibble on a crust of bread, too tense to eat. A second knight, older and broad-shouldered, rises to challenge the first. Her eyes demand a worthier champion. He booms, hand on his sword. The hall erupts in gasps and laughter, but you want to sink through the floor. This isn't flattery, it's a spark that could ignite bloodshed. You recall a local tale last year. 2 knights dueled over a lady's favor at a nearby castle, and both ended up dead. The lady shunned. Her beauty branded a curse. That's the medieval beauty standards and danger combo. Your face isn't yours. It's a battlefield. You try to defuse the tension with a quip. Gentlemen, my eyes just want a good night's sleep. Not a sword fight? A few chuckles ripple through the crowd, but the knight's glares don't soften. The Lord raises a hand, silencing the room. Let her choose her champion, he says, his smile daring you to pick wrong. Your stomach twists. Choose one, you offend the other. Refuse, you risk the Lord's wrath. Why beauty was dangerous in medieval times hits you hard. Now your face has turned this feast into a powder keg, and you're holding the match. Desperate to shift attention, you compliment the minstrel's song, hoping to steer the knight back to music. He blushes, but the older knight snorts. A lady of such grace deserves more than a bard's drivel. Great. Now the minstrel's glaring too. Your third joke slips out. At this rate, I'll need to hire a dragon to guard my face from all this honor. The Lord laughs, but his eyes narrow, like he's sizing up whether you're trouble or treasure. You're starting to think the only safe place is back in the village, dodging, gossiping herb sellers. As the night winds down, the younger knight approaches, kneeling before you. My lady, I vow to win a tournament in your name, he says, his voice trembling with fervor. You nod, throat tight, knowing his vow ties you to his fate. If he wins, you're his muse. If he dies, you're the villain. The hall empties, leaving you with the Lord's parting words. Beauty like yours belongs here. Not in some muddy village. His tone isn't kind, it's possessive. You curtsy, your hands shaking, and slip out into the cool night air. The castle's shadow swallowing you. The walk back to the village is quiet, save for the crunch of gravel under your shoes and the distant hoot of an owl. You pull your cloak tighter, your beauty feeling less like a gift and more like a bounty on your head. That night's vow echoes in your mind, a reminder that courtly love isn't love at all. It's a game where you're the prize, and losing means ruin. You glance back at the castle, its torches flickering like eyes in the dark, and wonder how long you can outrun the trouble your face invites. You're back in the village, the castle's torchlight fading behind you like a bad dream, but the weight of those knights' vows clings to you like damp wool. The morning air carries the scent of fresh-baked bread and the tang of livestock. But you can't shake the feeling that every glance from a neighbor hides a judgment. Remember that herb seller's whisper about fairy blood. It's starting to feel less like gossip and more like a warning. Being too pretty in the Middle Ages isn't just a nobleman's game, it's a holy one. And the church's eyes are sharper than any sword. Today, you're stepping into their crosshairs, where your beauty isn't just dangerous, it's a sin that could burn you alive. It's 1217 and the Fifth Crusade is gearing up, with preachers roaming villages like yours, urging folks to take up the cross. You hear one now, his voice booming from the church steps, railing against vanity and temptation. You pull your hood lower, hoping to slip past, but the crowd parts and his gaze lands on you. There he cries, pointing, a face to lure men from God's path. Your stomach drops. The church, with its iron grip on medieval life, sees beauty as a double-edged blade, a gift from God. Sure, but also a tool of the devil. Why beauty was dangerous in medieval times? Because it made you a walking sermon for sin. You shuffle toward the church door, pressured by the crowd's murmurs. Inside, the air is thick with incense and the musty smell of old stone. The priest, a wiry man with eyes like chipped flint, beckons you forward. Kneel, he says. And you do. Your knees aching on the cold floor. He mutters a prayer, but his stare feels more like an interrogation. Odd fact some medieval clergy believed swallows blood could cure vanity, rubbing it on overly fair faces to dim their glow. You shudder, hoping he doesn't whip out a vial. The priest's voice lowers. Your beauty tempts honest men. Do you seek to rival the Virgin's purity? You shake your head, but your heart's racing. Denying it feels like admitting guilt. You mumble, Father, I just want to pray, not start a holy war. That's your first joke, and it earns a scowl, but you're too scared to care. The church's obsession with purity means your face is a problem they're itching to solve. Historians still debate whether the church targeted beautiful women to control social order or genuinely fear their influence as spiritual threats. To you, it's clear your beauty's a noose, and the priest tightening it. He hands you a rough linen veil. Cover yourself. He snaps. You drape it over your hair, but it does little to hide your face, and you feel the crowd's eyes boring into you. Outside, the preacher's still at it, now ranting about Eve's fall and women's wiles. You catch a glimpse of yourself in a puddle of those eyes. That skin, and realize medieval beauty standards and danger are a vicious cycle. The church exalts purity, demanding pale skin and delicate features, then punishes you for having them. You remember a local woman shunned last year for refusing to veil her too lovely face? She left for another village, but rumors say she didn't make it far. The dangers of being beautiful in history aren't just spiritual, they're survival. Trying to blend in. You join a group of women spinning wool near the churchyard. They're kind enough, but their chatter turns sharp. She's the one the priest called out. One whispers, another snorts. Bet she bathes in milk to stay that fair. You force a laugh, tossing out your second joke. Milk, nah. I just roll in the mud like everyone else. They giggle, but the tension lingers. You notice they're all veiled, their faces half hidden. The church's rules don't just bind you, they divide you from others, making your beauty a lonely curse. The day wears on, and you head home. A cramped hut with a straw mattress and a single window. You light a tallow candle, its smoky glow casting shadows on the walls. You're barely settled when a knock startles you. It's the priest's apprentice, a nervous boy clutching a parchment. Father says you're to attend a special sermon tomorrow. He stammers. On modesty. Your throat tightens. Special sermons aren't for praise, they're for warnings. You nod, and he scurries off, leaving you with the sinking feeling that your face has painted a target on your back. You sit by the candle, picking at a crust of bread, your mind racing. The church's scrutiny feels like a storm closing in, and you're not sure how to outrun it. You think of that knight's vow from the castle. His honor feels distant now. No match for the priest's zeal. Your third joke slips out, whispered to the empty room. Guess I should have asked for a holy shield instead of a tournament champion. It falls flat, swallowed by the silence. The veil lies crumpled on the table, a reminder that hiding your beauty won't save you, it'll just mark you as defiant. As you blow out the candle, the darkness feels heavier than usual. You lie on the straw, the village quiet except for a distant dog's bark. The preacher's words echo, a face to lure men from God. You pull the blanket tight, wondering if tomorrow's sermon will be a lecture or a trial. Your beauty, once a quiet pride, now feels like a thief stealing your peace. The church's gaze is relentless, and you know one wrong step could turn their suspicions into something far worse. You wake to the rooster's crow, your straw mattress prickling your back, the priest's veiled threat from yesterday still souring your mood. That special sermon on modesty looms like a storm cloud, and the village feels smaller, its muddy paths closing in. Remember the preacher's finger jabbing at you, calling your face a sin now. The whispers are louder, snaking through the market like wildfire. Being too pretty in the Middle Ages is like wearing a crown made of thorns. Everyone admires it, but they're waiting for you to bleed. Today, those whispers turn darker as your beauty fuels talk of witchcraft, and the dangers of being beautiful in history creep closer than ever. It's 1218 and the village is buzzing with news of the Fifth Crusade's early victories, preached as God's triumph over heathens. You overhear it at the well, where women gossip while hauling water. You dip your bucket, trying to stay invisible, but a girl nudges her friend, whispering. That's her, the one with the devil's charm. Your hands freeze on the rope. Witchcraft accusations aren't new. Last year, a woman in a nearby town was drowned for bewitching a harvest. But now your beauty's the kindling, and medieval beauty standards and danger are stoking the flames. The church's obsession with sin has turned your face into evidence of something unholy. You haul the bucket home, water sloshing over your shoes, the air sharp with autumn's bite. Your hut's dim interior smells of earth and herbs, but it's no sanctuary. You glance at the crumpled veil from the priest still untouched and feel a pang of defiance. Covering your face feels like admitting guilt, but going bareheaded might as well be a confession. Odd fact, some villagers believed toad spit could ward off witches' charms. Smearing it on door frames, you wrinkle your nose, muttering, I'd rather face the devil than that slime. That's your first joke. A flicker of humor to keep the fear at bay. You step outside to tend your small garden, kneeling in the dirt to pull weeds. A neighbor, an old man with a limp, passes by and pauses. Careful. Lass, he says, voice low. They're saying your looks ain't natural? You force a smile, but your heart's pounding. What? You think I brew potions in my stew, you quip, your second joke landing weakly. He doesn't laugh, just shakes his head and hobbles off. The village, once familiar, now feels like a jury. And why beauty was dangerous in medieval times is clear in a world ruled by fear. Your face is a story they're rewriting into a curse. By noon, you head to the market for bread, your hood pulled low. The baker, usually chatty, hands you a loaf with a curt nod. You catch snippets of talk her eyes. Too perfect. Must be a spell. Historians still debate whether witchcraft fears targeted beautiful women to enforce conformity, or if superstition just latched onto anything unusual. To you, it's a noose tightening with every stare. You remember the castle's knights, their vows now a distant echo. Their honor can't shield you from a village turning hostile. A sudden commotion draws your eyes to the village square. A traveling peddler, his cart piled with trinkets, is shouting about charms to protect against witches. He holds up a crude iron amulet, claiming it repels unnatural beauty. The crowd murmurs, and a woman points at you. Tested on her, she calls. Your breath catches. The peddler's eyes glint with opportunity, and he strides towards you, amulet dangling. Let's see if the devil's mark holds, he says, voice dripping with showmanship. You back away, but the crowd presses closer, their faces a mix of fear and fascination. You clutch the loaf, your mind racing. Unless that thing wards off bad bread, I'm not interested, you say, your third joke trembling but sharp. A few laugh, but the peddler's not amused. He thrusts the amulet near your face, and the crowd gasps, expecting. What a scream! Horns sprouting. Nothing happens, but the silence is worse. She's too calm. A man mutters. Only a witch stays so cool. You want to scream that you're just a girl, not a demon, but words won't help. The peddler smirks, sensing profit in the tension, and moves on. But the damage is done. You slip away, heart hammering. The market's noise fading behind you. Back in your hut, you bar the door, though the flimsy wood feels useless. The loaf sits untouched, your appetite gone. You think of the priest's sermon tonight and wonder if he's heard the witchcraft talk. The church and village are a deadly duo, and your beauty's caught in their crossfire. You recall the herb seller's fairy blood jab? Now it feels like a prophecy. The dangers of being beautiful in history aren't just about knights or lords. They're in the everyday. In the way a neighbor's glance turns from kind to cruel. As dusk falls, you light a candle, its flicker casting jittery shadows. The sermon's hour approaches, and you know you can't skip it, not with eyes already on you. You grab the veil, draping it loosely, a half-hearted compromise. The village bell tolls, heavy and final, calling you to face the crowd again. You step into the twilight, the path to the church lined with whispers. Your beauty no longer a light, but a beacon for trouble. You wonder how long you can dodge the sparks before they ignite something you can't outrun. The church bell's echo still hums in your ears as you slip away from the sermon. The priest's words about modesty feeling like a brand on your skin. The village is cloaked in twilight, the air thick with the scent of wood smoke and damp earth. Remember those witchcraft whispers at the market? They're not just gossip anymore, they're a shadow trailing you home. Being too pretty in the Middle Ages is like holding a map to treasure everyone wants to steal. And now, your beauty's landed you in a new trap marriage. Not the romantic kind, but a cold, calculated deal where your face is the currency. And the dangers of being beautiful in history are about to tighten their grip. It's 1219, and the village is abuzz with talk of a truce in the Fifth Crusade. A fleeting hope preached from pulpits. But your world narrows to the hut's dim glow, where your aunt, your only kin, sits spinning wool, her face grim. "The miller's son wants you," she says, not looking up. His father's offering 2 goats and a plot of land. You freeze, the spindle's whir filling the silence. Marriage in this world isn't about love, it's a contract. And your beauty makes you a prize pawn in a game of alliances. Why beauty was dangerous in medieval times? Because it turns you into a bargaining chip, not a person. You sink onto a stool, the straw creaking under you. The miller's son smells like stale flour. You mutter, your first joke a weak shield against panic. Your aunt snorts, but her eyes are hard. "Better him than a lord's dungeon," she says. She's not wrong. Refusing could spark rumors, maybe even revive those witchcraft whispers. Odd fact, some medieval brides wore garlic wreaths to ward off evil spirits on their wedding day. A stink you'd take over the miller's son's breath. You grimace, imagining that ceremony. But the humor fades fast. Marriage means losing what little freedom you have. Your beauty chaining you to a man who sees you as a trophy. You step outside for air. The night crisp and starry. The village sleeps. But you feel lies real or imagined watching from the shadows. You recall the castle banquet. Those knights' vows now a distant echo. Their honor can't save you from this. Medieval beauty standards and danger twist together here. Your face draws suitors. But each one's a leash. The miller's son isn't the worst option. There's talk of a merchant from a nearby town, twice your age, eyeing you too. Your aunt says his wealth could protect you, but his leering gaze at the market last week felt more like a threat. By morning, you're at the stream, washing linens to clear your head. The water's icy, numbing your fingers, but the rhythm soothes you. A girl from the village, Agnes, joins you, her hands red from scrubbing. "Heard about the miller's offer," she says. Voice low. You saying yes, you shrug, splashing water to dodge the question. "If I marry him, I'll need a nose plug." You quip, your second joke earning a giggle. But Agnes's smile fades. "They're saying you've got too many suitors. Makes folk jealous." Her words sting. Historians still debate whether beauty-driven marriages strengthened communities or sowed resentment. To you, it's the latter. Your face is stirring a pot ready to boil over. You head back, linens dripping, when a stranger blocks your path. He's broad, with a fur-trimmed cloak, a merchant's man. "You guess my master wishes to meet you," he says, his tone clipped. "He's generous to those who please him." Your stomach twists. This must be the merchant your aunt mentioned. You force a smile, muttering, "Tell him I'm flattered, but I'm more into goats than gold." That's your third joke, and it buys you time as he frowns, unsure if you're mocking him. You slip past, heart racing, the village path feeling narrower than ever. Back home. Your aunt's waiting with news the miller's family is coming tonight to discuss terms. The word terms lands like a stone. You picture the miller's son, his doughy hands and smug grin, and feel trapped. You think of the priest's sermon, the peddler's amulet every step you take. Your beauty tightens the noose. The merchant's offer, though unspoken, hangs heavy too. He's richer, but his power could crush you faster than the miller's son's clumsy grip. The dangers of being beautiful in history are crystal clear. Your face isn't just a lure for suitors, it's a weapon others wield to control you. As evening falls, you light a candle, its flicker dancing on the hut's walls. You sit, twisting a strand of hair, dreading the knock at the door. Your aunt hums, spinning wool, but the silence between you is thick. You wonder if marriage is your only escape from the witchcraft rumors, or if it's just trading one cage for another. The village bell tolls, slow and heavy, marking the hour. You pull your shawl tight, your beauty feeling less like a gift and more like a debt you'll pay for life. The miller's family is coming, and with them, a future you can't outrun. You're still rattled from last night's visit with the miller's family, their greedy eyes sizing you up like a prize cow. The village feels suffocating, its muddy lanes and smoky air pressing in as you head out to gather firewood. Remember those witchcraft whispers and the merchant's creepy offer they're piling up, making your beauty a magnet for trouble. Being too pretty in the Middle Ages is like waving a red flag in a wolf den. And today, you're stepping onto dangerous roads where your face could draw more than just stares. It could bring bandits. The dangers of being beautiful in history are about to hit you where it hurts most your freedom. It's 1220 and the village is abuzz with news of the Mongol invasions far east. Tales of horsemen sweeping through lands like a plague. You overhear it at the tavern as you pass, but your mind's on the task ahead collecting kindling from the forest edge. The road out of town is a rutted path, flanked by gnarled oaks and whispering reeds. You bundle your cloak tight, your basket swinging, hoping to blend into the gray morning. But medieval beauty standards and danger don't let you hide. Your face, even half shadowed by a hood, catches the light like a polished coin, and coins attract thieves. You're halfway to the woods when hoofbeats thud behind you. Your heart leaps. But it's just a farmer's cart, the driver tipping his hat. Careful, lass. He calls, bandit's been spotted near the ford. You nod, throat tight, and quicken your pace. Odd fact, some medieval bandits wore charms made of wolf teeth, believing they'd grant cunning. You shudder, imagining those teeth glinting in the dark. Great, you mutter. Your first joke slipping out. I'm out here looking for sticks, not starring in a robbery saga. The humor steadies you, but the farmer's warning lingers. The forest looms, its shadows cool and damp. You stick to the path, gathering twigs, the air sharp with pine and moss. Your basket's half full when a rustle stops you cold. A man steps from the trees, his cloak tattered, a dagger at his belt. Well, ain't you a sight, he says, his grin missing a tooth. Two more men emerge, their eyes raking over you. Your beauty's no secret now, it's a ransom note written on your face. Why beauty was dangerous in medieval times? Because it makes you a target, not just for knights or priests, but for men who see you as loot. You grip your basket, mind racing. If you're after riches, I've got about 3 twigs and a bad mood. You quip. Your second joke, a desperate bid for time. The leader laughs, but his eyes don't. A face like yours would fetch a pretty price, he says. Stepping closer, you back away, heart hammering, remembering tales of women kidnapped for noblemen's collections or sold to far-off markets. Historians still debate whether banditry spiked due to famine or just greed. But to you, it's simple. Your beauty's a bounty, and these men want to cash in. You glance at the path, calculating a sprint, but the second bandit blocks it, his hand on a club. Don't run. Love, he sneers. You think of the miller's son, the merchant, every trap your face has sprung, and now this. The village's whispers, the priest's sermons, all fade against the raw thread of steel. You drop the basket, twigs scattering, and raise your hands. Look, I'm just a villager, you say, voice steady despite the panic. The leader tilts his head, like he's weighing your worth alive versus otherwise. A sudden shout breaks the tension, a hunter from the village. Bow in hand, cresting the hill. Oi! Clear off, he bellows. The bandits hesitate, then melt into the trees. Their curses fading. You collapse against a tree. Breath ragged, the hunter jogging over. You all right, he asks. Eyes wide. You nod, too shaken to speak. He mutters about recent raids, saying your face must have drawn him like flies. You force a weak smile, your third joke trembling. Guess I should have worn a sack over my head. He chuckles, but the truth stings. Your beauty nearly cost you everything. The hunter escorts you back, your basket half empty. The forest shadows feeling alive with eyes. The village comes into view, its thatched roofs a fragile comfort. You thank him, but his parting words chill you. Stick to the village, lass. Roads ain't safe for the likes of you. He means well, but it's a cage tightening. You think of the castle's knights vowing honor. The priest's veil, none of it shields you out here. The dangers of being beautiful in history are raw on this road, where your face is a lure for blades, not just gossip. Back in your hut, you sink onto the straw. The door barred tight. The fire's low, its crackle barely warming the gloom. You stare at the twigs you salvaged, your hands still trembling. The bandit's words fetch a pretty price echo, tying you to the miller's offer, the merchant's leer. Every step outside feels like rolling dice, and your beauty's the stake. You wonder if the village mama with its whispers and suitors is any safer than the road. The night presses close, and you know one thing your face won't let you run far before trouble finds you again. You're still shaken from that bandit scare on the forest road, your hands raw from clutching that flimsy basket. The village feels like a trap snapping shut, its familiar lanes now laced with danger. Remember the miller's son's sweaty proposal or those witchcraft whispers their child's play compared to the raw fear of steel glinting in the woods? Being too pretty in the Middle Ages is like painting a target on your back. And today, you're stumbling into a tournament where your beauty isn't just a lure, it's a spark for blood. The dangers of being beautiful in history are about to turn a festive day into a deadly spectacle. It's 1271 and the village is alive with chatter about a local tournament, held to celebrate the recent truce in the Albigensian Crusade, a brutal campaign against heretics in southern France. You'd rather stay home, barred in your hut, but your aunt insists you go. Refusing could stoke more gossip. The tournament ground sprawls outside the village, a riot of color with banners flapping and the air thick with roasted meat and horse sweat. You pull your hood low, but your face still draws stares. Medieval beauty standards and danger collide here. The crowd admires your look, but every glance feels like a blade's edge. You find a spot near the wooden stands, the ground churned to mud by boots and hooves. Knights in gleaming armor parade, their lances raised, while squires scurry with shields. A herald announces the first joust, and the crowd roars. Odd fact, some knights rubbed onion juice on their armor, thinking it brought luck. You wrinkle your nose, muttering, hope they brought some for their breath. That's your first joke, a flicker of levity to ease the knot in your chest. But the humor fades when a knight familiar from the castle banquet spots you. He's the young one who vowed to fight for your honor, and his grin now spells trouble. He trots over, his horse snorting, and dips his lance toward you. My lady, I fight for your favor today, he shouts, loud enough for the crowd to turn. Your stomach twists. Why beauty was dangerous in medieval times? Because your face just turned this joust into a personal vendetta. You force a nod, whispering, please don't die on my account. That's your second joke, but it's more plea than quip. The crowd cheers, thinking it's romantic, but you know better. His vow ties your name to his fate, and if blood spills, your beauty will take the blame. Another knight, older with a scarred visor, rides up, his eyes locking on you. A worthier champion claims her. He growls, pointing his lance at the younger knight. The crowd gasps. Loving the drama, but you want to vanish. You recognize him too from the castle. The one who challenged the first. Their rivalry, born of your face, is now a public spectacle. Historians still debate whether tournaments were chivalric sport or just sanctioned violence to settle scores. To you, it's a cage where your beauty's the bait, and the knights are the beasts. The herald calls them to the lists, and the joust begins. You grip the stand's edge, the wood splintery under your fingers, as hooves thunder and lances crack. The younger knight's shield splinters, but he stays seated and the crowd roars. You barely breathe, knowing each clash ties you tighter to their feud. Between rounds, a minstrel strums nearby, singing of a lady whose eyes launch wars. You shoot him a glare, muttering, keep singing, and I'll launch your lute into the next village. That's your third joke, earning a chuckle from a nearby woman, but it doesn't dull the dread. The second joust is brutal. The older knight's lance catches the younger one's helm, knocking him from his horse. He hits the ground hard, unmoving, and the crowd hushes. Your heart stops. Medics rush in, and he stirs, groggy but alive. Relief floods you. But the older knight dismounts, striding toward you. His weakness shames your beauty, he says, tossing a ribbon your favor at your feet. You don't pick it up, but the crowd's murmurs burn your ears. She caused this too fair for peace. Your face, meant to inspire, now sows chaos. The tournament drags on, but you slip away, the cheers fading behind you. The path home is quiet, the air cooling as dusk settles, carrying the faint tang of dust and blood. You think of the bandits, the miller's son everywhere you turn. Your beauty spins a web of trouble, the knight's lances, like the priest's sermons, aim at your face, making you a scapegoat for their pride. The dangers of being beautiful in history are raw here, where a sport becomes a battlefield, and your presence is the spark. In your hut, you light a candle, its glow weak against the dark. You sink onto the straw, the tournament's roar still echoing in your mind. The ribbon lies crumpled in your pocket, a reminder of the blood your beauty nearly spilled. You wonder how long you can dodge these traps nights, bandits, suitors before one catches you. The village sleeps, but you lie awake. Your face a burden heavier than any armor. Knowing tomorrow's light will only bring new dangers. You're still rattled from the tournament's chaos. That knight's crumpled body flashing in your mind as you trudge through the village. The air's heavy with the scent of rain-soaked straw and distant thunder, mirroring the storm brewing in your chest. Remember those lances clashing over your favor. They're just one more knot in the noose your beauty's weaving. Being too pretty in the Middle Ages is like carrying a lit torch through a hayfield. One spark, and everything burns. Now, a new shadow looms the Black Death's aftermath, where your unscarred face isn't a blessing but a curse that breeds envy and whispers of dark pacts. The dangers of being beautiful in history are about to turn survival itself against you. It's 1350 and the Black Death, which ravaged Europe from 1347, has left your village a hollow shell. You were a child when it struck, somehow spared while neighbors dropped like flies. The plague's retreat is a grim historical marker, but its scars linger pockmarked faces, empty homes, and a fear that clings like damp rot. You're at the market, bartering for turnips, your cloak pulled tight against the chill. Your face, smooth and untouched, draws eyes like moths. Medieval beauty standards and danger twist cruelly here. The plague made flaws holy, proof of survival. But your perfection screams unnatural. A woman, her face pitted from the plague, hands you a turnip but grips it a second too long. "How'd you stay so fair?" she asks, voice sharp. You shrug, heart racing. "Just lucky, I guess," you say. "Your first joke weak. Or maybe I scared the plague off with my cooking." She doesn't smile. Odd fact, some believed bat wing broth could cure plague scars, and survivors drank it religiously. You stifle a grimace, imagining the taste, but her stare cuts deeper than any potion. Your beauty, once a village marvel, now breeds resentment in a world where suffering is a badge of honor. You move on, but whispers trail you too clean. Must have bargained with demons. Why beauty was dangerous in medieval times? Because in a post-plague world, your flawless skin isn't just rare, it's suspicious. You recall a man last year accused of dodging the plague through witchcraft. He vanished after a mob torched his hut. The market's bustle feels hostile. Every glance a spark that could ignite a mob. Historians still debate whether post-plague societies targeted the unscathed to ease their own trauma or to root out imagined evil. To you, it's a witch hunt, and your face is the evidence. Trying to blend in, you join a group near the baker's stall, where a preacher rails about God's judgment. He spots you, his eyes narrowing. The pure in body tempt the pure in soul, he shouts. Pointing, the crowd murmurs, and you feel the air shift. You force a quip. Your second joke. If my face tempts anyone, it's probably the turnips. A few chuckle, but the preacher's glare doesn't waver. He's not the priest from years ago, times moved on, but his kind's the same. Wielding your beauty like a whip, you slip away, clutching your turnips. The preacher's voice chasing you. On the path home, a boy throws a clod of dirt. Snickering. Pretty witch. You dodge, but it stings. You think of the tournament. The bandits' every danger your face has drawn, now amplified by the plague's bitter legacy. Back in your hut, you bar the door, the wood creaking under your push. The air inside smells of herbs and tallow, but it's no shield. You light a candle, its flicker casting long shadows, and sink onto the straw. Your reflection in a tin cup mocks you. Clear skin, bright eyes, a face that screams survivor in a village of scars. A knock startles you. It's Agnes, the girl from the stream years back, now a widow with a pockmarked cheek. They're talking, she says, voice low. Say you made a pact to stay untouched. You invite her in, offering a crust of bread. A pact with who? The turnip fairy, you quip, your third joke falling flat. Agnes sighs. It's not funny. They're scared, and scared folk do stupid things. She's right. The village, battered by plague, sees your beauty as proof of something sinister. Not divine. You sit together, the candle guttering. Agnes shares rumors of a cleansing ritual planned by the preacher to root out unnatural survivors. Your heart sinks. The dangers of being beautiful in history aren't just knights or bandits. They're in the envy of those who suffered, while you somehow didn't. You think of the miller's son. The merchant's leer past traps pale against this new fear. Agnes leaves, urging you to veil or flee, but both feel like surrender. As night falls, you lie on the straw, the village silent save for a distant dog's howl. The preacher's words echo tempt the pure in soul. Your face, a miracle to you, is now a mark of betrayal. You pull the blanket tight, wondering if dawn will bring a ritual, a mob, or worse. Your beauty is no longer just a burden, it's a death sentence waiting to fall. And the plague's cruel irony might be the blade that cuts you down. The village feels like it's holding its breath, the air thick with suspicion as you wake to a gray dawn. That preacher's talk of cleansing rituals last night clings to you like damp fog, and Agnes's warning about mob fear rings in your ears. Remember the plague's bitter aftermath, how your unscarred face turned heads into accusers. Being too pretty in the Middle Ages is like wearing a crown of glass, beautiful, fragile, and begging to be shattered. Now you're summoned to a royal court, a glittering den where your beauty draws not just envy, but daggers hidden in smiles. The dangers of being beautiful in history are about to trade village whispers for noble plots. It's 1351 and England's reeling from the Statute of Laborers, a law clamping down on workers demanding higher wages post-plague. You hear it grumbled about as you're escorted from the village by a stern-faced messenger, his horse's hooves kicking up mud. He says a nearby lord, impressed by tales of your radiance, demands your presence at his court. You ride in a creaking cart, the scent of wet hay and leather heavy, your stomach churning. Why beauty was dangerous in medieval times? Because it pulls you from one fire village suspicion into another. The scheming world of nobles where your face is a chess piece. The castle's gates loom. Stone walls draped in ivy, torches spitting light into the dusk. Inside, the great hall sparkles with tapestries and candlelight, but the air sharp with wine and ambition. Ladies in silken gowns eye you like hawks, their lips pursed. The lord, a wiry man with a silver circlet, beckons you forward. A village jewel, he calls you, his smile too wide. You curtsy, your plain dress feeling like a jest among their finery. Odd fact, noblewomen sometimes chewed parsley steeped in vinegar to whiten their teeth, hoping to match the era's ideal of beauty. You bite back a smirk, muttering, Hope they don't offer me that for dessert. That's your first joke. A spark to keep your nerves steady. The Lord seats you near him. A place of honor that feels like a trap. A lady across the table, her face powdered pale, leans forward. Such beauty, she says. Voice honeyed but cold. Almost too perfect for a peasant. The words drip with jealousy, and you sense the court's undercurrent. Your presence threatens their hierarchy. Medieval beauty standards and danger collide here. Noble women crave your allure but hate you for having it naturally. You recall the village preacher's accusations. But this is worse. These courtiers don't whisper of witchcraft. They plot with smiles. A young noble, all velvet and swagger, offers you wine, his eyes lingering too long. You could outshine the queen, he says. Half charming, half daring. You sip, heart racing, and quip. I'd rather outshine the kitchen staff that get better food. Your second joke earns a laugh, but the lady's glare sharpens. You overhear her whisper to another. She's trouble. We'll see her humbled. Historians still debate whether courtly jealousy drove political schemes or merely mirrored them. But to you, it's a knife's edge. Your beauty's a challenge to their power, and they'll cut you down to keep it. The feast unfolds. Platters of swan and spiced pears passing under your nose. But you barely eat. A minstrel sings of a lady whose beauty felled kingdoms, and the Lord raises his goblet to you. The room cheers, but it feels like a cage closing. You think of the tournament, those knights clashing over your favor. This court's just a grander arena with higher stakes. The lady leans close again, her perfume cloying. Enjoy your moment, she hisses. Pretty faces fade fast here. You force a smile, but her words echo the village's suspicions, tying your beauty to a ticking clock. As the night winds down, the Lord invites you to stay as a guest. It's no request, it's a command. You nod, throat tight. Knowing refusal could mean a dungeon or worse. The noble's wine offer, the lady's venom they're plotting something, and your face is the spark. You're led to a chamber, its velvet curtains heavy, the air cold despite a crackling fire. At least the bed's softer than a village mob. You mutter, your third joke a whisper to the empty room. But the humor doesn't dull the fear. You think of the bandits, the preacher every trap your beauty sprung, now dressed in silk, lying on the feather mattress. You stare at the ceiling's shadows, this castle's silent save for distant footsteps. The Lord's jewel comment feels like a chain, not a compliment. Your beauty's drawn you from village gossip to courtly schemes, each step more perilous. The dangers of being beautiful in history are vivid here, where envy wears a crown and plots hide in smiles. You pull the blanket tight, wondering if you'll wake to flattery or a knife. The court's glitter hides a darkness deeper than any village night, and your face is its brightest target. You wake in the castle's guest chamber, the velvet curtains muffling the dawn's light. But the weight of last night's courtly smiles presses heavier than ever. Remember that noble woman's venomous hiss about your moment fading. Her words linger like a bad smell, and the Lord's jewel comment feels more like a shackle than a compliment. Being too pretty in the Middle Ages is like holding a candle in a windstorm. Everyone sees the glow, but it's begging to be snuffed out. Today, you're tangled in a new snare sumptuary laws. Rules meant to dim your shine and keep your beauty from upending the social order. The dangers of being beautiful in history are about to get painfully bureaucratic. It's 1352 and England still grappling with the Statute of Laborers fallout, as nobles tighten their grip on a restless peasantry. You're summoned to the Lord's private hall, the air thick with wax and old wine, a clerk, all pinched face and inky fingers, awaits you, clutching a parchment. You've violated the sumptuary laws, he declares, voice sharp as a quill. These laws dictate who can wear what, ensuring peasants like you don't outshine their betters. Your simple dress, modest but fitted, apparently shows off your beauty too much. Why beauty was dangerous in medieval times? Because it dares to cross lines the powerful draw in the dirt. You stand before the clerk, the stone floor cold under your feet. My dress is plainer than a monk's breakfast. You quip. Your first joke a spark to keep your nerve. He doesn't smile. It's not the cloth, it's you. He snaps, eyeing your face like it's a crime scene. Odd fact, some sumptuary laws banned women from using henna-dyed threads in their hair, claiming bright colors incited lust. You touch your braid, glad you skipped the henna, but the clerk's glare says your natural glow is offense enough. He hands you a coarse gray gown, stiff as a sack. Wear this. Hide your excess. You take the gown, its weight like a punishment. Medieval beauty standards and danger are a cruel pair. The court admires your face, but demands it be dulled to keep you in your place. You think of the village's whispers, the plague's envy. This is just a fancier cage. The clerk drones on about order and humility, but you catch the noblewoman from last night watching from a doorway, her smirk sharp. She's behind this, you're sure? Her jealousy weaponizing the law to dim your light. Historians still debate whether sumptuary laws controlled social hierarchy or just fueled elite pettiness. To you, it's the latter, and your beauty's the target. You're sent to change, the new gown scratching like a penitent's robe. In the chamber, a bronze mirror shows your face, still radiant despite the drab cloth. You mutter, guess I'm the prettiest sack of potatoes now. Your second joke fallen flat in the empty room. Back in the hall, the Lord inspects you, his eyes lingering too long. Better, he says, but his tone suggests he's testing you. Not praising? The noblewoman joins him, her silk rustling. She learns her place, she says, her smile a blade. You curtsy, biting back a retort, knowing defiance could mean a fine or worse. By midday, you're allowed to wander the castle grounds, the gray gown chafing your skin. Servants whisper, their glances a mix of pity and curiosity. A young page, barely 12, offers you an apple. You don't look like a peasant, he says, then blushes, realizing his mistake. You wink, tossing out your third joke. Tell that to this gown is trying to bury me. He grins, but a guard overhears, scowling. Your beauty, even cloaked in gray, still draws trouble. Like a moth to a flame it can't resist. The day drags, and you're tasked with carrying linens to the kitchens, a job meant to humble you. The castle's bustle, clanging pots, barking dogs feels chaotic, but it's safer than the court's stairs. You recall the tournament's bloodshed, the bandits' leers, each danger tied to your face, now worsened by laws that punish you for it. A cook, noticing your discomfort, mutters, they'll tire of hounding you soon. But you doubt it. The noblewoman's smirk. The clerk's rules, their chains forged from envy, not justice. As evening falls, you're summoned back to the hall. The Lord announces a feast, and you're to serve, a public display of your corrected status. You move among the tables, pouring wine, the gray gown heavy with shame. The noblewoman watches, triumphant, but the Lord's gaze still lingers, hinting at plans beyond laws. The dangers of being beautiful in history are clear. No gown, no rule, can dim what others resent or desire. You think of the village's mobs, the preacher's rituals, nowhere safe when your face is a crime. You slip back to your chamber, the castle's torches casting long shadows. The gown lies crumpled on the floor, a symbol of your shrinking world. You lie on the bed, the mattress too soft for comfort, and stare at the ceiling. The clerk's words, the noblewoman's smirk, echo like a warning bell. Your beauty is not just a burden, now it's a defiance the powerful won't forgive. Sleep feels far off, the night heavy with the sense that these laws are only the start of a deeper trap. You're still chafing under that scratchy gray gown. The castle's opulence, a mocking contrast to your forced humility. The noblewoman's smirk from last night's feast burns in your memory, and the Lord's lingering gaze feels like a noose tightening. Remember the sumptuary laws, meant to dim your shine. They're just the start. Being too pretty in the Middle Ages is like singing in a storm. Everyone hears you, but they're waiting for lightning to strike. Now, you're dragged into a heresy trial, where your beauty isn't just a social crime. It's twisted into proof of demonic influence. The dangers of being beautiful in history are about to turn holy wrath against you. It's 1353 and the church is cracking down on heretics. Emboldened by the recent trial of the Beguines, a lay religious group accused of straying from doctrine. You're woken by a pounding on your chamber door, the castle still dark. A grim-faced guard hauls you to the chapel, its air heavy with incense and dread. A tribunal awaits the Lord, a bishop with a hawkish stare, and that noblewoman, her face smug. You stand accused of heresy, the bishop intones, his voice echoing off stone. Your heart stops. Why beauty was dangerous in medieval times? Because your face, already a sin, now marks you as Satan's ally. You stand before them, the gray gown itching, your hands trembling. The bishop points to your face. Such perfection cannot be God's work, he says. It tempts men and defies nature. You want to laugh at the absurdity, but fear chokes you. Odd fact, some medieval clerics believed peacock feathers could detect demonic presence, waving them over suspects. You glance around, half expecting a feather to appear, and mutter, "Hope they don't test me with bad fashion." That's your first joke. A flicker of defiance, but the bishop's scowl deepens. The noblewoman steps forward, her voice dripping venom. She bewitches all who see her, she says, gesturing to the Lord, whose silence feels complicit. You realize she's orchestrated this? Her jealousy now a holy crusade. Medieval beauty standards and danger converge here. Your face, meant to inspire, is spun into evidence of evil. You recall the village preacher's cleansing threats. The plague's envy this trial just trades mob pitchforks for ecclesiastical robes. Historians still debate whether heresy trials targeted women's influence or merely cloaked personal vendettas in piety. To you, it's clear your beauty's the spark, and she's fanning the flames. They question you. demanding confessions of pacts with demons? I'm just a villager, you say, voice shaking. My face is no spell. The bishop scoffs, citing scripture about vanity's sins. You try to lighten the mood, your second joke slipping out if looks are demonic. Half the court's in league with me. A guard snorts, but the noblewoman hisses. Blasphemy. You bite your lip. Realizing humor's a weak shield, they produce witnesses a servant claiming your gaze unmanned him. A maid swearing you charmed the Lord. Their lies pile up. Your beauty twisted into a weapon you never wielded. The tribunal pauses. The bishop murmuring with the Lord. You're sent to a cold cell, its walls damp and reeking of mildew. You sink onto a straw pallet, the door's iron clang echoing. You think of the tournament's bloodshed, the bandits' leers, each trap your face sprung. Now dwarfed by this holy farce, a rat skitters by, and you quip. Your third joke a whisper. At least you don't care about my face. Buddy. The humor falls flat, swallowed by the dark. You recall the sumptuary law's gown, meant to humble you, but this trial aims to break you entirely. Hours later, a young priest visits, his face kind but nervous. Confess, he urges, and they might show mercy. You shake your head, knowing a confession means death or exile. Mercy's not their game, you say? He sighs, leaving you with a crust of bread and a warning the noblewoman's pushing for a public trial. Your beauty, once a village marvel, now fuels a spectacle where truth doesn't matter. The dangers of being beautiful in history are stark in this cell, where your face is a lie they've written to condemn you. As night falls, the cell's chill seeps into your bones. You curl up, the straw prickling. The castle silent save for distant chants. You think of the village's whispers, the court schemes every step led here. Your beauty a thread tying each knot. The bishop's words defies nature echo, making your face a stranger's. You wonder if dawn will bring a trial, a pyre, or a miracle. Sleep eludes you, the darkness heavy with the sense that your beauty's not just a curse now, it's a verdict waiting to fall. And the church's hammer is poised to strike. The cell's damp chill clings to you as you wake, the straw pallet digging into your back. The bishop's damning words defies nature still ringing in your ears. That heresy trial's shadow looms larger than the castle walls, and the noblewoman's smug face haunts your fitful sleep. Remember the tribunal's lies, twisting your beauty into proof of demonic pacts. Now, the trap tightens in a way you never saw coming betrayal. Being too pretty in the Middle Ages is like holding a rose in a storm. Everyone wants it, but they'll tear it apart to have it. The dangers of being beautiful in history turn personal today, as envy from someone you trusted cuts deeper than any cleric's verdict. It's 1354 and the castle buzzes with news of the Treaty of Gwen, a shaky peace between England and France in the 100 Years' War. You hear it from a guard's mutter as he shoves you from the cell to a small chamber for questioning. The air smells of wax and sour wine, the room lit by a single candle. Agnes, your old friend from the village stream, stands there, her pockmarked face pale. You smile, hoping for an ally, but her eyes dart away. She's the one. She says, voice trembling. Her beauty's unnatural bewitched me. It did. Your heart plummets. Why beauty was dangerous in medieval times? Because it breeds envy so fierce. Even friends turn foes. You stare at Agnes, the sting of her words sharper than the cell's cold. Agnes, you know me. You plead, but she won't meet your gaze. The bishop nods, scribbling on parchment, while the noblewoman from the court smirks in the corner. Odd fact, some medieval folk believed swallowing a spider could cure jealousy, thinking it absorbed spite. You mutter, wish I'd fed Agnes a whole web. Your first joke a bitter spark to mask the hurt. But the humor fades fast. Agnes, once your confidant, has sold you out. Her envy of your unscarred face now a weapon in this holy farce. The bishop presses Agnes for details, and she spins a tale your beauty clouded her mind, made her neglect her duties, even caused her husband's death by distracting him. It's nonsense, but the noblewoman nods, egging her on. Medieval beauty standards and danger collide here your face, a mirror of their ideals. Stirs resentment so deep it twists truth. You recall the plague's aftermath, how your clear skin marked you as unnatural. Agnes's betrayal feels like that village envy, but sharper, personal. Historians still debate whether such accusations stemmed from genuine fear or were tools for settling scores. To you, it's betrayal, plain and ugly, fueled by a face you can't hide. You try to speak, but the bishop cuts you off. Silence. Heretic. He snaps. You clench your fists. Desperation bubbling. If looking good's a crime, lock up the sunrise too. You quip, your second joke earning a gasp from a guard but no mercy. Agnes flinches, but her story holds. You remember her by the stream. Her laughter at your jokes now she's traded that for a chance to dim your light. The noblewoman whispers to the bishop, her influence clear. This trial's a stage, and Agnes's envy is their script. Your beauty the villain. They send you back to the cell, Agnes avoiding your eyes as you pass. The door clangs shut, the air heavy with mildew and despair. You sink onto the straw. The candles flicker, long gone. You think of the tournament's bloodshed, the sumptuary law's shame, each trap your face sprung, now crowned by this betrayal. Guess I should have shared my face like bread, you whisper. Your third joke hollow in the dark. The humor can't dull the ache. Agnes's words bewitched me cut deeper than any blade, turning a friend into a stranger. A priest visits at dusk, the same nervous one from before. Confess, he urges, or they'll burn you. You shake your head, knowing confession means death or exile, and Agnes's lie has already tipped the scales. She was my friend, you say, voice breaking. He sighs, leaving you with a stale crust and a warning the trial resumes tomorrow, and Agnes's testimony seals your fate. The dangers of being beautiful in history are raw here, where envy isn't just a whisper, it's a blade in the hands of someone you trusted. You lie on the straw, the cell's darkness swallowing you. The castle's silence is broken only by a distant owl's hoot, a sound as lonely as your thoughts. You think of the village's mobs, the court's schemes, every danger led to this. Your beauty a spark that burned your last bridge. Agnes's face, once kind, now haunts you. Her envy a mirror of the world's. You pull the thin blanket tight, wondering if tomorrow's trial will end in flames or chains. Your face, a gift you never asked for, feels like a thief that's stolen your last ally, leaving you alone in the dark. The cell's dank air wraps around you as you wake. Agnes's betrayal still a raw wound in your chest. The bishop's threat of a public trial looms like a storm, and the noblewoman's smirk feels etched into the darkness. Remember Agnes's trembling voice, pinning your beauty as bewitched. That sting runs deeper than the cell's chill. Being too pretty in the Middle Ages is like carrying a lantern in a fog. Everyone sees you, but it only draws danger closer. Now, you're forced into exile to escape the trial's noose, but your face makes vanishing impossible. The dangers of being beautiful in history are about to turn a desperate flight into a lonely, hunted path. It's 1355 and the 100 Years' War grinds on, with the Battle of Poitiers looming as distant nobles muster armies. You hear it whispered by a guard as he shoves you from the cell at dawn. A hooded figure, the young priest waiting in the shadows. "They'll burn you tomorrow," he murmurs, slipping you a cloak. "Flee now." You nod, heart pounding, and follow him through a servant's passage, the air thick with dust and tallow. Why beauty was dangerous in medieval times? Because even escape comes at a cost. Your face, a beacon, can't be left behind. You slip out a side gate, the castle's walls fading into the pre-dawn mist. The cloak's rough wool scratches, but it hides your dress, though not your features. You head for a forest path, the ground soft with dew, the scent of pine sharp. Odd fact, some exiles carved elderwood charms to ward off pursuers. Believing the wood held spirits' favor? You clutch a twig, muttering, "Hope this stick's got better friends than I do." That's your first joke, a spark to keep panic at bay. But the humor fades as hoofbeats echo behind you. You dive into the brush, heart racing, praying your face stays shadowed. The riders pass hunters. Not guards, but the scare drives home your reality. Exile means solitude, and your beauty's a giveaway. Medieval beauty standards and danger haunt you even here, where a glimpse of your face could spark recognition. You recall the village's whispers, the court's schemes. Each trap pushed you to this, a fugitive marked by your own skin. Historians still debate whether exile was mercy or slower death sentence for the accused. To you, it's a road where every stranger's glance is a threat, and your face is the bounty. By midday, you reach a stream, its burble masking your footsteps. You kneel to drink, the cold water numbing your lips, and catch a reflection, those eyes, that glow, a traitor staring back. A peddler's cart rattles nearby, and you pull the hood lower, but he stops, squinting. "Lost, lass. You're too fair for these woods," he says, voice curious but edged. You force a smile, your second joke shaky. "Just hunting for a quieter life, know any good caves." He chuckles, but his eyes linger, and you move on, sensing he'll talk. Your beauty, meant to fade in exile, shines like a signal fire. Night falls, and you find a hollow under an oak. The air heavy with moss and earth. You huddle in the cloak, hunger gnawing, the forest alive with rustles. You think of Agnes's betrayal, the bishop's glower. Every step from the village to the castle led here. Your face a thread tying each knot. A wolf howls, and you quip. Your third joke a whisper. "At least wolves don't care about my skincare routine." The humor's thin, but it keeps you grounded. You recall the bandits' leers. The tournament's blood exile trades those dangers for new ones, where your face could betray you to any passerby. At dawn, you press on, aiming for a distant town where you might blend in. A farmer's wife spots you, offering bread but eyeing you warily. "You're the one they're hunting," she says. voice low. Your face, they described it. You freeze, the bread bitter in your mouth. She doesn't turn you in, but her warning's clear. No town safe while your beauty marks you. The dangers of being beautiful in history are stark on this path, where anonymity is your only shield and your face steals it away. You keep moving, the forest thinning, the road ahead uncertain. The cloak's heavy, but it's all you have against the world's gaze. You think of the priest's risk. The cell's despair exiles your last chance. But your beauty's a chain you can't break. The sun climbs, casting long shadows, and you wonder if you'll ever find a place to rest. Your face, a curse you've carried from village to court, now hunts you as fiercely as any guard, and the lonely path stretches on, promising no peace. The forest's edge fades behind you as you trudge onward, the cloak heavy with dew and your heart heavier still. Agnes's betrayal, the bishop's damning words, and the noblewoman's schemes. They're ghosts trailing you through this exile. Remember the peddler's squinting stare, recognizing your face despite the hood. Being too pretty in the Middle Ages is like wearing a bell around your neck. Every step rings out, drawing eyes you can't escape. Now you seek refuge in a monastery, hoping its stone walls offer redemption. But your beauty's shadow clings tight, threatening to unravel your fragile peace. The dangers of being beautiful in history are about to test your last hope. It's 1356, and the Battle of Poitiers has just shaken France. A crushing English victory in the 100 Years' War that's got travelers buzzing. You overhear it from a pilgrim as you near a small monastery nestled in a valley, its bell tolling softly. You knock at the gate, the wood rough under your knuckles, the air sharp with frost and wood smoke. A nun, her face lined but kind, opens it, eyeing your tattered cloak. "What brings you, child?" she asks. You lower your hood, and her gaze flickers surprise. Then caution. Why beauty was dangerous in medieval times, because even in sanctuary, your face tells a story others judge before you speak. You're led inside. The monastery's halls dim and cool, smelling of wax and old parchment. The abbess, a stern woman with a silver cross. Here's your plea shelter in exchange for work. "We take all who seek God," she says, but her eyes linger on your face. Wary. Odd fact, some monasteries used nettle tea to purify newcomers, believing it cleansed worldly vanity. You grimace, muttering, "Hope they don't serve that with breakfast." That's your first joke, a spark to ease the tension. But the abbess's lips don't twitch. Your beauty, even in this holy place, feels like a stain you can't scrub off. You're given a novice's robe, coarse but clean, and tasked with scrubbing floors. The work's hard, your knees aching on stone, but it's a relief to bow your head and blend in. Medieval beauty standards and danger lurk even here. Though a young monk, copying manuscripts, stares too long, his quill pausing. "You're no ordinary penitent," he murmurs. You force a smile. Your second joke quick. "Just an expert at scrubbing sins and floors." He blushes, but the abbess, passing by, frowns. Your face, meant to fade in exile, still draws attention, threatening your fragile cover. Days pass in a rhythm of prayer and labor. The monastery's quiet, a balm after the forest's terrors. But whispers start among the novices, your beauty's too worldly, your past too shadowed. One evening, a visiting priest, hawk-eyed and grim, joins Vespers. He spots you, his sermon veering to Eve's temptation, his gaze pinning you like a moth. Historians still debate whether monasteries shielded women from persecution or merely policed their virtue. To you, it's a sanctuary teetering on judgment. You face a spark that could ignite old accusations. You keep your head down, tending the herb garden, the scent of rosemary grounding you. A nun, older and kinder, shares bread one noon. They fear what they don't understand, she says, nodding at your face. You think of the village's mobs, the court's plots, each danger tied to your looks, now echoing in holy walls. Maybe I should have been born a radish, you quip, your third joke earning her chuckle. But her eyes hold pity, and you know your beauty's a guest the monastery might not tolerate long. That night, the abbess calls you to her study, a candle flickering on her desk. The priest suspects you're a fugitive, she says, voice low. Your face, he says, it's known. Your stomach drops. You plead your case exile. Not guilt, but she sighs. Beauty like yours stirs trouble, even here. She offers you a choice, take vows, binding you forever, or leave by dawn. The monastery, your last hope, can't shield you from the world's gaze. The dangers of being beautiful in history are vivid now, where even redemption demands you erase yourself. You lie awake in the dormitory, the nun's soft breaths filling the dark. The abbess's word stirs trouble echo, tying you to the bishop's trial, Agnes's betrayal, your face, a burden from village to forest, haunts your quest for peace. The bell tolls midnight, a heavy note, and you know dawn will force a choice. You pull the robe tight, your beauty a ghost that won't let you rest, wondering if vows or flight can finally dim its perilous light. The monastery's bell tolls softly, pulling you from a restless sleep on the narrow dormitory cot, the coarse robe itching against your skin. The abbess's ultimatum, take vows or leave by dawn, hangs heavy, a final knot in the web your beauty spun. Remember the monk's stare, the priest's suspicion. Even in this holy refuge, your face betrays you. Being too pretty in the Middle Ages is like carrying a spark in a world of dry tinder, one wrong move. And it all burns. Now, as you face your final choice, you reflect on a life shaped by your beauty's trials, its legacy rippling through a village that may never forget you. The dangers of being beautiful in history have led you here, to a moment of reckoning under a quiet sky. It's 1357 and the Treaty of Berwick has just freed Scotland's King David II from English captivity. A distant victory you overhear from a pilgrim at the monastery gate. But your world is this valley, where dawn's first light filters through the chapel's stained glass. You slip into the herb garden, the air cool and scented with lavender, seeking clarity before the abbess's deadline. Odd fact, some medieval villagers believed rose water sprinkled on thresholds could ward off curses tied to beauty. You touch a blooming rose, muttering, "Too late for that, unless it hides my face." That's your first joke, a faint smile against the weight of your choice. You kneel in the dirt, the earth grounding you as you think back. The village's whispers, the castle's schemes, Agnes's betrayal, each was a stone in the path that led here. Your beauty, once a quiet pride, became a curse that drew bandits, knights, and priests, each wielding your face as a weapon. Medieval beauty standards and danger wove a net you couldn't escape. From the market's witchcraft rumors to the court's jealous plots. Historians still debate whether beauty's perils were societal control or raw human envy. To you, it's both a force that shaped your life into a series of traps, each sprung by the face you see in the chapel's polished brass. A young novice joins you, her hands dirt-streaked from weeding. "You're leaving, aren't you?" she asks, her voice soft. You nod, unsure, the vows feeling like another cage. "If I stay, I'll just be the pretty nun they whisper about." You quip, your second joke earning her shy grin. But her eyes hold worry she's heard the priest's murmurs, the abbess's doubts. Your beauty, even cloaked in a robe, stirs unease, a legacy that follows you like a shadow. You think of the tournament's bloodshed, the exile's lonely road, each moment your face turned into a story others told, never yours. By midday, you decide you'll leave. The abbess hands you a small bundle bread, a cloak, a prayer, and her gaze softens. "Your light's too bright for our walls," she says, almost kind. You step through the gate, the valley stretching wide. The path unknown. A village lies nearby. Not yours, but close enough to hear tales of the bewitched beauty. You pull the cloak's hood low, but a child spots you, gasping. You're her. Your heart sinks. Your legacy, tied to your face, has already spread. A tale of wonder and danger that outruns you. You settle in the village, taking a job mending clothes, your face hidden as best you can. Years pass, and the whispers fade. But your beauty's mark lingers. Old women tell your story by hearths, a cautionary tale of a girl too fair for her own good. You find peace in small acts sewing, helping neighbors, your face no longer a spark, but a quiet glow. Guess I'm the witch who mends socks now. You murmur, your third joke a nod to the life you've carved. Your beauty, once a curse, becomes a memory, shaping a village that learns to see past it. The sun dips low, painting the valley in soft golds, the air carrying a gentle hum of evening. You sit by your small hearth. The fires crackle a soothing lullaby, the village settling into a calm that feels like home. Your hands, calloused from years of needlework, rest on a worn cloak. It stitches a map of your journey. The dangers, bandits, trials, betrayals fade into stories, like leaves carried off by a Canadian autumn wind. Your face, still fair, no longer draws swords or sermons. It's just yours, a quiet part of a life rebuilt. The stars emerge, their light soft, blending with the village's glow. And you feel a peace that's hard-won, wrapping you like a warm blanket. As the fire dies to embers, your eyelids grow heavy, the world blurring into a gentle haze. The valley's hush, the distant call of a loon, carries you toward sleep. Each breath slower, deeper. Your story, once ablaze, now rests in the village's heart, a tale told softly by those who've learned to see you, not just your face. Let the night take you. Canada's cool air a whisper of rest. Your journey complete.